911. What are you? That's me! That's me! That's me!
Whoa, 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 everybody. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It's real vile time, baby. And you know that it's the G to the E to the R to the M and the T stands for the. You already knew that. And we're about to rip it up in a modern way. So you know it's got to be Mr. Germ 2 Ripper here with my wonderful, beautiful, excellent, top-notch co-host, the Prime Minister, the Sinister, Mr. Ruthless Chris. Ruthless Chris, tell these people what's really going on.
What's really going on is this goddamn Halloween season. No one could be more happy about it than me.
Word?
I'm pretty happy about it. You want to fight? We can pie wrestle.
Just flexing that trophy again. You know, you win one tournament, you get real cocky all of a sudden.
And as you can see, we've got the Tower of the Hour, the Princess of Power, the Queen of Pie Wrestling. It is the Killer Kelly Miller. Killer Kelly Miller. Let them know what's really going on.
Not a lot, man. Just the same old shit. All work, no play this week. Boy.
I feel you. Wild, weird, and wacky. Indeed. That's the way I like it. The 3 W's. Wild, weird, and wacky. So what have you guys been up to since last week?
Not much, man. How are you?
I've been keeping it pretty low key. We did a movie night the other night.
Yeah.
I haven't really done much else. I stayed around the house, cooked up some stuff. Been working really goddamn hard.
Yeah.
Getting ready for Chicago next weekend. By the time you hear this, we'll be like a few days away. So come join us in Chicago. All 4 of us, including producer Peapod, will be there. So come say hi, get a picture, do whatever, man.
Yeah, get a real vile group photo with all 4 of us. If that might be close, might be next to near to impossible to get all 4 of us. But if you do, you get a kiss on the cheek from me.
I was like, from one of us.
Just me. I'm kissing all the boys. All the fat boys get kisses. All the fat wrestling fanboys. Okay, we're gonna leave that alone. Yeah, maybe just a handshake. Who knows? We'll figure it out as we go along. I haven't really been up to too much myself. Just a lot of movie watching, a lot of chilling. Not like a villain because I'm a good boy. Saturday I hit the gym pretty hard, and then I had a little bit of time at night. So the mayor of Niles, Illinois, if you're not familiar with it, there is a minor landmark, which is the Niles Leaning Tower of Pisa, and he was lighting it up in honor of Recovery Month. So I went there to represent all the people in the recovery. So that was nice. And then Sunday I chilled. I watched a whole bunch of movies, and it was nice. It was really nice to sit in and watch movies and take naps. Like I'd watch a movie, take a nap, walk the dog, watch a movie, take a nap, walk the dog. It was great. It was a fabulous day off.
So I have questions. Chris? I have questions. So this Leaning Tower, is this just like what the original is, just like a mock version of it?
Yeah, just a little smaller.
It's not to scale?
No.
So people go out there and they get that picture where they, perspective, make it look like they're holding it up?
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Yes, lots of people get that.
You have one of these pictures?
I do not. I'd actually never been to it. I've driven by it a million times. This was my first time actually going to it, and I was kind of excited, but at the same time I was there for a purpose, and I had a long day of hitting the gym really hard, so I kind of just wanted to go home afterwards. But I did get a picture of it lit up purple for Recovery Month, and I got a picture with Marty Cook, who had booked me for this coming Friday. I'm going to be speaking at a big recovery meeting out here, so I'm pretty excited about that. But besides that, why don't we get back to spooky season? Why don't we get back to October and talk about some crazy spooky movies, especially since our main movie this week is 2019's brutal Halloween movie, Haunt. Oh my goodness gracious gravy. Can't wait to get to this one because it is crazy.
It's a fun one.
But before we do, why don't we talk about what else we've been watching real quick? Ruthless Chris, why don't you start this terror train off, baby?
All right, will do. I got to narrow it down because I did a lot of movie watching this week. I spent a lot of time around the house. So when I'm around the house, it's movie time, baby. And we've had a bit of a like kind of Indian summer going on out here in the fall. Like it's been really nice this last week or so because I'll take my laptop on the porch and my dog and I will sit out there. So I watched a lot of movies, but the first one I'm going to talk about is Halloween themed, and I think it's quite overlooked. I know this is one that you're a fan of, Germ. I don't think you've seen this before, Kelly. This is 2015's Gravy.
No, I don't think so.
Gravy is made by James Rade Rodriguez. He is not known as being a filmmaker. He is the man behind the TV show Psych. But he also operates in a lot of other shows, but like that's the show he made. But he's one of those guys that like when they're making a TV show and you know how they bring in like 10 directors for a season, he'll be like make 3 episodes a season. This is the only movie he's ever made it. He made it under a pseudonym and then changed it over after people ended up liking it. This movie takes place on Halloween. It is a very dark comedic horror movie. The comedy is about as heavy as the horror in this, and if you like that Psych sense of humor, that self-aware kind of witty, quick dialogue, that's the kind of humor that's through this. But what you have is a group of cannibals that hold a restaurant full of people that after hours hostage to cook them up for their yearly Halloween feast. This thing's absolutely hysterical. It's extremely demented and bloody, which is hilarious because when I watched on Tubi, they had it labeled as PG, which it is fucking not. Cool cameo by Sarah Silverman in this. She's pretty funny in it. Jimmy Simpson is an actor I very much enjoy. He's mostly known as the main McPoyle brother from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He plays one of the main characters on this, and he is completely unhinged, and he's worth watching this thing completely on his own for. But I can't recommend this thing enough. It is a little low budget, but it doesn't really hurt it. It's very demented. It's very bloody, very over the top. Good Halloween movie. Give it 4 stars. Definitely would recommend it. Watched on Tubi.
Like you said, I'm a huge fan of Gravy. Great cast. Very funny, very bloody, great fight scenes. I can't remember the spot right now, but there were multiple times that it reminded me of like deathmatch wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was cutlery or light tubes or what, but I remember popping for it when I watched it last Halloween season. And just talking about it and thinking about how funny and bloody this movie is, I had to give it an extra half a star because it's definitely a 4-star movie. And if you haven't seen it, you've got no excuse to. If it's streaming on Tubi and it's for free, so do yourself a favor and watch Gravy. I have the physical copy because that's how I roll. I buy stuff and hopefully it's good. And luckily it was in that case. But like I said, no excuse. Watch it on Tubi. Hey, Killer Kelly, what you got for us, baby?
I have been watching I got 2 movies from 1988. This first one is on Tubi. It is called Witchery. And it is starring David Hasselhoff and Linda Blair. So this one starts out like it's this big kind of colonial house, obviously East Coast, where we're all like the witch burning and shit like that happen. And there's this big ass house. David Hasselhoff and his girlfriend, who's a virgin, they make that very known because he's also trying to bang her the whole movie. And she's just kind of not having it. But it also ties into the storyline. But yeah, his virgin girlfriend, she's researching a book about witchcraft, like some German book that she's got to translate that brought her to this hotel. Something about the witch's light. So she's trying to figure out. It's not exactly clear. She's writing a book, so she's doing research. So they're there. Hasselhoff is a photographer. Well, the owners of this hotel or whatever, the property owners or what they show up with their kids. There's a little boy named Tommy. Linda Blair's pregnant as shit, and then there's like another couple. They show up, and shit starts going down. Like in the opening scene, in the opening scene, it kind of had like these colonial guys chasing like very very Italian horror style, like chasing obviously a witch from another time down the hallway of this building. So you obviously get this feeling that this place is cursed or it's haunted. So there's also some weird like old lady witch, maybe living in the attic, maybe she's a ghost, I don't know. But as soon as the people start showing up, they start getting picked off by this witch, by some like weird fucking witch. There's a cool voodoo doll scene with like the blood everywhere. I don't know. This movie's kind of all over the place. It's 1988. The Virgin gets raped by a guy with no lips at one point. Linda Blair gets possessed again. Go figure. So, I don't know. It was a fun one. It kept me entertained. Oddly, Hasselhoff might be one of the better actors in this movie.
Oh, come on.
Linda Blair's good, but a lot of the characters are just like, I don't know, man. It was entertaining. There's some really good gore in it. There's some nudity. Very like culty style witchcraft. Like Linda Blair gets like sucked into the bathtub at one point, and then she has like visions of some weird witches eating her baby. It's a fun one. I give it 3.5, man. Witchery.
Very, 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 very cool. That sounds like a fun movie, and it sounds like a must watch. I mean, if you like Linda Blair and David Hasselhoff, lots of campiness, it sounds like, and gore.
It's campiness. It's very Italian horror, actually. I believe the director of this is an Italian. Who is the director? I didn't write that down. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. But yeah, the director is Fabrizio Laurenti. So he's
doesn't get much more Italian than Fabrizio Rizzi, right?
Yeah. So, but it definitely very heavy Italian horror influence on this one.
3.5 stars. Well, where did you say this one was streaming? Was it Tubi?
Tubi. Yeah, you can watch this on Tubi.
Tubi, of course.
Yes.
Chris, have you seen Witchery?
I have not. I own a copy. I've just never gotten around to it.
It's a fun one, man.
Got a great cover.
It's it's slow at parts. It's a little, but what it kind of picks up, like the gore is fun. It's cheesy. It's good cheesy 80s horror. It's everything you like about like good cheesy 80s horror. It's got Hasselhoff in it.
Very cool. Well, that sounds exciting. I'll have to look that up on Tubi.
Yeah.
In the meantime, let's keep this terror train a rocking and a rolling. And I'm going to talk about a movie I done watched this past weekend, and it was the 3 W's that we were discussing earlier. Weird, wacky, and wonderful. I don't know. Was that the 3 W's, or did I just change the W's?
I think you threw wild in there as one.
Wild.
Yeah,
Maybe there's
wild.
4
You said
W's.
weird, wacky, and wild.
Weird, wacky, wild, and wonderful. And whimsical. All there's 5 W's now.
Oh shit!
Very whimsical. So I am talking about the 2022 fairy tale come to life, very bizarre movie by Martin Owen. Martin Owen is the director of a movie that I didn't care too much for, that I talked about just a couple of episodes ago. LA Slasher was his very first movie. Now this is his very latest movie, The Loneliest Boy in the World. And The Loneliest Boy in the World is excellent. It is out of sight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It has an aesthetic of Disney meets John Waters with zombies. And I could not be happier with this film. If they took out they dropped like one F-bomb, and if they took that out, like I could definitely see this being like a Tim Burton movie. I could definitely see this being on the Disney Channel, but because of that one F-bomb, it gets an R rating. And I don't think enough people have heard about this. But Loneliest Boy in the World, like I said, is a modern fairy tale with zombies. It's a satire, a celebration of family values, and it has a lot of horror imagery. And it just starts out with this weird kid being visited, and his name is Oliver. He lives by himself in a big house, and he's got like social workers coming to visit him. And if he's okay, then he doesn't have to go back to the house, or they never specify like what's wrong with them, what happened beforehand, blah, blah. Local kids don't like him. They pick on him. They call him a freak. He's just happy for the interaction because they tell him that he has to make friends or else he has to go back to the home. There's a weird girl with blue hair named Chloe that he kind of makes friends with, and she says hi to him, but he finds that recently deceased people make the best friends. So he's friendly with some grave diggers, and he digs up this fella that he names Mitch, and Mitch is his new best friend because by some unexplained magic, when he digs these people up, they come back to life. And I kind of love that it's not explained, like, because he gets Mitch, and then he digs up a new mom, and he digs up a new dad, even a little sister, which he never had a little sister, and a dog. And they're all zombies, and they're walking and talking, and they're interacting with people. And it does take place around Halloween, so it makes a great Halloween movie as well. This would be a great beginner's horror movie if you've got youngsters in your family that you want to introduce horror movies to. And it has a very queer vibe to it because Oliver is very effeminate, but at the same time, they never express like he's gay or he's queer or any of the characters are queer, but it feels that way. You know what I mean? It feels like John Waters directed this. If you've ever seen But I'm a Cheerleader, it kind of has that color palette of that movie as well. It's very campy and very fun, very whimsical. I thoroughly enjoyed The Loneliest Boy in the World. It is streaming on Paramount Plus, and I give it 4 stars. Have either of you seen this movie or heard about it?
No, but I'm interested. I should find this. What did you watch it on?
Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also on Showtime streaming.
All right.
I have not. I did really enjoy LA Slasher, probably more than you, but also I think me seeing it when it came out, it was a lot more topical then, to where a lot of it, probably when you saw it, had become dated. But I would be interested in seeing what else this guy made, because he definitely had a very quirky, interesting like filmmaking style. You know, when you described it, it kind of sounds like a more friendly version of like Cemetery Man.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
where he's digging up a family, and people are falling in love, and it gives no reason why zombies are coming back, but hey, it's happening. Yeah.
It's a much friendlier version of Cemetery Man. So like, if you wanted to see like a pastel, smiley version of that instead of a dark and gloomy version, definitely check out The Loneliest Boy in the World. It's queer, it's campy, and it's a whole lot of fun. And if I spoke ill of Martin Owen's directing chops, I apologize, because I think this is his 4th full-length film, and it's out of sight. 4 stars, Paramount Plus and Showtime. But let's keep this train a rocking and a rolling. And Ruthless Chris, what you got for us next, baby?
The next one kind of goes along with in the vein you were talking about, to where you can watch this with your family. This is a family-friendly one, and this one holds like a big spot in my little Halloween heart. This is a movie that was a made-for-TV movie from the 80s. Mm-hmm. I used to watch it every year while I carved my pumpkins. Like, it was like just nostalgia central, and I hadn't seen it since I was maybe 12 years old when I watched it again. Mm-hmm. We ended up finding it on YouTube. I shared it with Kelly. It was her first time seeing it.
It's great.
And it really it was like a jolt of childhood, like being sent back to me. So I will post this movie on our Facebook and our groups, because they can't get the rights to it, because there's so much number one hit songs in this thing that they can't just option the rights to release it because it'd just be too fucking expensive. But this is 1985's The Midnight Hour by Jack Bender. Jack Bender most notably made Child's Play 3, but also made Kenny Rogers' The Gambler. You've seen this, huh, Jerm?
Oh yes, I love the Midnight
okay.
Hour. I tweet on a regular basis how every boutique label needs, or any boutique label needs to put out the Midnight Hour on a collector's edition Blu-ray, whatever it costs, whatever you got to do. It was probably about that time that when it first aired, I had come home from trick-or-treating and my older brother was watching it on TV. And I remember watching it, and I know that I shouldn't have been because I was like 7 maybe. And it just blew my mind. I loved how like it was more family friendly, but it still had vampires and monsters and stuff. And there was a great storyline.
Wolfman Jack, man.
Great music,
I'm gonna get into it all.
Man, I was, as soon as me and Chris watched it, I'm just gonna hop in real quick. But as soon as me and Chris watched it, like I started looking on eBay, on Amazon, like where can I find this movie? I absolutely love this movie. I texted my mom, like, Mom, have you ever seen this? She actually got back to me today. She was like, No, is Wolfman Jack actually in it? I was like, Yes. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. So this is obviously Germ's in the same boat. This is heavy nostalgia for me. I think between this and Monster Squad might be the way I turned out the way I am. Like this early horror that was family friendly, but they didn't really like softball it. It was still like horror. Like there are some terrifying scenes in this movie. But at the same token, it's fun and it's tongue in cheek and it's campy and it's like all the things. This is all the things you want from an 80s Halloween movie. Like there's zombies, there's vampires, there's a Sasquatch, there's a wolf man.
The witch.
There's witches and all this stuff. Wolfman Jack is in this. LeVar Burton is a mummy in this thing. But what you have is a group of students. There's a local legend where one of the students' ancestors was this this prolific witch that the town's scared of, and they're gonna have this Halloween party. These kids go and they break into the witch museum and steal his ancestors' clothing to use as costumes for this costume party, which breaks this curse that she has, and the witch comes back. The dead start rising from the grave in a wonderful scene, because it's not like just a hand comes up. These things are like the graves are exploding and they're all coming out, and they all look very like Thriller meets like Return of the Living Dead, like heavy prosthetics. And they all kind of start going over the town, like some of them are mean and want to, do zombie shit, but like the others just like accidentally wander in this party. They're like, hey man, we're just here to kick it. They're just like drinking and having a good time at this party. There's zombies making out on the couch. You got Wolfman Jack as the radio announcer. You don't actually see him, but he breaks in and kind of gives exposition and then like introduces the next song. And the soundtrack on this thing is phenomenal. Like that's the reason, unfortunately, it can't get people can't afford the rights to put this thing out, is because you'd have to pay so much in royalties, because it's like hit song after hit song after hit song after hit song. And even like when there shouldn't be, like they'll just be like two people just like wandering around and there's like a Duran Duran song playing in the background. It's like, what the fuck? And you are going to hear Midnight Hour about a dozen times in that movie as well. But this thing, like, this is the perfect movie. Like if you're looking for a movie you haven't seen before, but you want to like carve pumpkins with the family, like have a thing where like it's going to be horror, but it's not going to be like too bad for anybody. There's no cussing. There's not like any blood, but it's heavy on the ghouls, ghosts, and goblins, and it really, hits home the whole vibe of everything. This is the movie. I love this movie. Like I said, you can watch it free on YouTube. I'll link it. Like this is my childhood in a nutshell. This is a 4.5 all day for me, if not 5. Can't speak highly enough about the Midnight Hour. I think everyone should see it.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. And it's a shame that it's not available to stream like a better version of of it anywheres because it's if I remember correctly, it's not like the best version. It's a little choppy.
Well, so I found two versions. The one we watched was really it was good. It was like a high quality version, but I watched it again because I found a version and it's the tape from TV with all the commercials in.
Oh shit!
So like it was like being there again as a child. Like I see the old Crest commercials where it has like the white strip and the aqua strip like swirling together on the toothbrush. I'm like, I remember that shit. It almost made it better for me. I don't know. So there's two versions up there. There's one that's really high quality with no commercials. I'm assuming it's a VHS rip because there was a VHS of this. And then there's the pulled from broadcast version, which is really nostalgic and fun, but it looks like TV from the 80s.
Well, the crazy thing is, too, I remember when DVDs first became a thing, there was a DVD of this, but now to get like that DVD, it's super expensive on eBay or whatever, unless you get the
VHSs were like $150.
Yeah, it's crazy. So hopefully one day someone will step up to the plate and take the reins and put this out because, just for nostalgia purposes, the soundtrack, the cast, I give it 5 stars. Kelly, what did you think about the Midnight Hour?
I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I was like, dude, this is like an instant classic. And I'm sorry I didn't see it as a child, but I see it now. And it's something that I would rewatch every year as a tradition because it's that good of a Halloween movie. Like Chris said, like Monster Squad, or it's family friendly. It's the nostalgia too from like if you grew up in that era too. It's just it hits it it hits every note. I love it. I give it 5 stars as well.
Very, very cool. So get onto YouTube if you haven't seen the Midnight Hour. Definitely check out the Midnight Hour. But in the meantime, Killer Kelly, what you been watching, baby?
My second 1988 movie that I've watched this week, also on Tubi, is Hack-O-Lantern. Have you guys ever seen Hack-O-Lantern?
I sure have.
As much as I love the name, I don't think I've actually watched it. I mean, I'm going to check my letterbox just to make sure.
But yes, Hack-O-Lantern. Directed by Jag Mundra, who is also a Bollywood director, and I believe this is his first Hollywood movie. Which, you can't really tell. I just read that fun fact. But, this movie. It takes place, obviously, in, like, the southern United States somewhere, I would say. And it starts out with a little boy. He's, sitting with his grandpa at the end of the truck, and they're talking about pumpkins. Sounds innocent enough. And then his grandpa gives him, like, a little skeleton and a pentagram necklace. So he's just like, all right, kid takes it home. Mom finds out that the grandpa gave him the pumpkin, and she freaks the fuck out. And you're like, what the hell? Why? Apparently grandpa is a Satanist and in a Satanist cult. So she smashes the pumpkin, but he hides the pentagram. Years later, Tommy, the little boy in this movie, his name is Tommy as well. Tommy grows up and he's in an 80s band, which there's lots of fucking 80s hair metal in this movie too. But he grows up to be a Satanist while his little brother at the same time is a cop. Grandpa wants to initiate Tommy into his satanic cult. And at the same time, there's also like, some killings going around town. And you're like, are they related? This movie's very predictable. So, yes. But the band parts. There's a lady in one of the bands that like shoots lasers out of her eyes and like can turn guitars into pitchfork, in which she kills them with. This movie is full of like full frontal nudity, a lot of it. They're not really creative kills, but there's a lot of killing in this movie. It's 80s gory horror fun, dude, with the 80s hair metal aspect. And it's weird as shit. There's some like satanic cults, there's like pentagrams and shit, and yeah. I don't know, it's worth a watch. I give it a 3. It's not great. Go on.
Where's it streaming?
Tubi.
Tubi,
Of
of course.
Of course.
Chris, from your reaction, it sounds like you might have seen Hack a Lantern. What's your take on it?
I have seen Hack-A-Lantern a few times. Oddly enough, comedian Patton Oswalt is who hit me to this thing. Not like I know him personally, but like he is known like historic, like shitty movie film buff. And I was watching like this podcast he was on, and he went into like some of the shittiest movies he enjoys, and he started talking about Hack-A-Lantern, and I was like, all right, I gotta check this thing out. Yeah, this thing is a smoldering pile of dog shit, but it's a lot of fun.
Yes, exactly.
It is shockingly weird and stupid.
Some of the lines in this movie. I'm Lady Godiva. Come ride my horsey. like
a trauma movie, you got to be in the mood for it. But if it gets you on the right day, it'll be like the best day of your life. But most days, just be like, oh. But yeah, I enjoy Hack-A-Lantern. I bought a copy of it now. I'll give it 3.
That's what I gave it. 3 is a fair rating on that one, I think.
Yeah.
You know what?
It's not a good movie.
I totally forgot that I watched it until you started describing it, and I looked up on Letterboxd, and evidently I've seen it, and I gave it 2.5 stars. It was forgettable for me. Yeah. Maybe I looked at my phone the whole time it was on.
It's stupid, but it's fun.
All right, fair enough. Is it a Halloween movie? Would you say it takes place on Halloween?
Yeah, he kills people on the satanic cult kills people on Halloween. They gotta like kill people on Halloween to initiate them into said satanic cult.
Fair enough. Very cool. Well, Hack-A-Lantern, check it out on Tubi if you want to see a really bad satanic movie that takes place on Halloween with 80s rock bands. But we're gonna go all the way, and I'm gonna talk about my next movie. This round number 2, and I'm gonna talk about 2021's weird as heck horror comedy thriller. It is Val. And now in this movie, Val, you come to see, it starts out with a criminal. He's on the run. We're not really sure why. They breaks into the home of a high-end escort. Only he realizes that nothing is as it seems. And that is definitely the case, because there's zombies and witches, and there's like demonic possessions and all kinds of bizarre stuff. But it was very funny, some great gore, and the cast was really great, which I thought was fun. Eric Griffin from what is that show now? Workaholics is in it. He plays like a mobster who is one of the escort's clients, and he comes there to get treated like a dog. But he accidentally gets killed by the criminal who's on the run and comes back as a zombie, and they fight out in the yard. It's so many twists and turns. Kept me engaged, kept my attention. I watched this on a whim just because I thought the trailer looked good, and I'm glad that I did, because it was an excellent movie. It was so much fun. Like I said, I don't want to give too much away because there is so many twists and turns. There were points where it reminded me of definitely like early Sam Raimi because of the camera usage, and you combine high-end escorts and mobsters and zombies and witches, and you're gonna come up with this wild movie, Val. It is streaming all over the place: Plex, Tubi, Roku, Amazon, and I give it 4.5 stars. Definitely worth a watch. Have you guys seen or heard of the movie Val?
Nope.
No, I think I've heard of it. I think I remember seeing the cover to it, but I have not seen it.
I added it to my watch list though while you were talking, because it sounded fun. I see it's on freebies, so I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, very fun, and at an hour and 21 minutes, you're not gonna lose out on a lot of time when it's streaming for free. You can't not like that. Horror comedy at its finest. But hey, Ruthless Chris, we got one last round to go. what's the last movie you want to talk about before we get to Haunt?
You know, I'm debating on which one I want to do because both of them I thought were really good. But you know what? I think I'll put off the one till next week. I'm going to talk about 12-Hour Shift. I went into this one blind, solely on who was in it. This stars Angela Bettis, who you may know from May and Sick Girl, and Roman. She has a tendency to take really interesting roles and do very well in them, and this is absolutely no exception. I had no idea this movie even existed. I was just kind of strolling through on things to watch on Hulu, and I came across this, and I'm really glad I did. This was like another dark comedy, kind of like Gravy, but this one's a lot more dry. Whereas Gravy had quips and like punchlines and stuff, this was more like situational humor. But what you have is a nurse who's on a 12-hour overnight shift. Part of her side income is that she sells organs. So when somebody's deceased, she'll harvest an organ. A girl will come and pick it up and drop it off to this gangster who is played by none other than Mick fucking Foley. Some may know as Cactus Jack or Mankind. Really odd to see him as a ruthless gangster because despite what he was in the ring, outside the ring, he is a goddamn lovable teddy bear of a man. Super obsessed with Christmas, loves being Santa. Our good friend Dr. Redacted has pictures of him where he showed up at the hospital he worked at, full Santa regalia, pretty cool stuff. But what happens is one night she hands the organ over to the girl to get to the gangster. The girl loses the organ, and then they have to get another replacement one for this person that's waiting on it. Otherwise, they're going to die. These gangsters are going to kill them. David Arquette's in this thing. He plays a really cool role where he's like
what a weird cast.
A hospitalized serial killer. He's like chained to the bed. He's got the cops watching him, that kind of thing. And it kind of just spirals into this like really bloody, dark comedy, of these people trying to get this organ. The girl that is the transporter decides to show up in scrubs and fuck everything up for Angela Bettis's character. The body count starts rising. People are pointing fingers at everybody else. It's a really entertaining romp. It's pretty unpredictable. Has a lot of twists and turns. It's extremely gory. But a lot of fun. And Angela Bettis, she's one of those people that she can really anchor a horror movie and make it work. And this is probably her best work since May, because there was layers to her performance. She wasn't just like this nervous person that has to get this organ because she's in the throes of this, but she's also a drug addict. She's stealing the pills from the people. There's all these things that she's like in trouble for, and she's already on probation from this other stuff. So there's like all this stuff she's dealing with, and like from scene to scene, you could see like extra stuff going on in her face from the acting that's not being said on screen. That adds like a lot of depth to this movie. I really truly enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. Directed by Brea Grant, who's also an actor. She made that movie that you watched recently, Kelly, that Torn Hearts, the country western
that wasn't
one
bad.
that you liked. Yeah. So yeah, definitely recommend it. 12-Hour Shift. I watched it on Hulu.
Oh, I might watch that tonight, actually.
Yeah, I definitely suggest it. It is, like you said, fabulous cast, great storyline, twists and turns, everything I like in a great genre film. And I give it 4.5 stars. Definitely worth a watch. I'll definitely plug that one all day long. 12-Hour Shift. So if you haven't seen it and you have Hulu, watch it as soon as possible. But listen to us first because we're more important.
Yeah.
But we got Killer Kelly with the last movie to talk about before we talk about the H to the A to the U to the N to the T. What you got for me, Killer Kelly?
I have there's a new movie out this year. This is 2023's Cobweb. You can rent this one right now on Amazon Prime. I think it's like $5.99, but it's good. This was a good one. I actually enjoyed this. It follows. There's a family, a mom, dad and a little boy, and it seems normal at first. Seems pretty normal. The kid starts hearing like knocking and stuff at his walls, and the parents, chalk it up as overactive imagination, or maybe it's just rats. And the kid gets bullied at school and stuff, and he becomes real close with his teacher. She becomes like important to him later in the story, like as like a kind of like a savior role for the little boy. But this knocking, it escalates into a voice that's talking to him. There's also a little girl that was missing from like 10 years ago down the street. So like there's this voice that's talking to him through the wall, and he starts, it's telling him not to trust his parents. And then shit like starts getting real weird. You start questioning, like, is this a haunting movie? Is there something with his did his parents take the little girl down the street? Is the girl on the wall is his sister, which is what she starts saying? And it takes another really crazy twist that you don't see coming. I don't want to talk too much about the plot, but this movie is very atmospheric. It's kind of a slow burn. Nice twists and turns. It does keep you guessing throughout the whole movie. It's shot. I really like the way it's shot. It's done really well. I would recommend this. I'd give this one a 3.5. It's very creepy. Like the whole atmosphere of the whole thing is very creepy. And I really like how you don't know if the parents are onto something. Like, are these just fucking abusive fucks, or is this place haunted? And then it just turns into something else at the end. Like you're like, oh, whoa, I didn't see that shit coming, It's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything bad about Cobweb. I wish I'd seen it in the theater because it does. People were describing it not like the same tone, but like there's a big twist that people were nice enough to keep from each other. They were describing it for that fact alone, similar to Barbarian.
So I can see that. Yeah, actually, I can see that. The same feeling that you got from like the same sort of twist. Yeah, that's comparable. I can see that. I'm not going to say it's the same thing. But it's a twist.
So you've watched this too, Chris?
No, I said that would have to be. I have heard pretty much what she said, that it's you think it's going one way, and then the whole movie takes a little turn on its head, and it's supposed to be really interesting. I have been meaning to watch it. I've almost watched it a couple times, but I ended up going on to something else. It is a plan of mine to watch it this month. I've been really going through a bunch of horror movies I haven't seen before, which I've been, making a point to do. Definitely going to get to it.
Very cool. I would definitely want to check out Cobweb as well. Thank you for the good review, Kelly.
Yeah.
And that sounds very exciting. I like how weird it sounds too.
It is weird,
but
it's good.
We got one last movie that I'm going to talk about before we get to Haunt. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. When I saw this was streaming on Amazon Prime, I popped so hard because the director of this, Mr. Tyler Cornack, made one of my favorite movies from the past few years. Tyler Cornack is the director of a little film called Butt Boy.
Oh boy. All right.
Yeah. This is his new movie, came out in 2022. It's called Tiny Cinema. It's an anthology film, and all the vignettes are directed by him. So it feels a lot more connected than most anthology films where, it's different directors and then one big wraparound story. No, these are all directed by him, and there's 6 tales. And they're all completely bonkers. I loved it so much. Like, I need to get this on physical copy, and I need to share the director's commentary. This is like, if you love Butt Boy, like I love Butt Boy. I can't remember all the vignettes, but like the first one, it's game night, and it's just like these normal people getting together for game night, and they're playing Twister, and one of the characters says, "That's what she said," and this guy becomes obsessed with, who is she? who is she? And it puts him in this whole spiral of figuring out who she is. And I've made that comment before, and I'm like, oh my God, I love that storyline. Where by the end of the movie, or by the end of the vignette, he's coming out with like this fake woman's face on his face. He's got his penis tucked between his legs, and he's holding it, he's waving a knife, and he's like, I am she, I am forever. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. There's another vignette called Motherfuckers, where it's just like this mobster family, and like, well, not the whole family, but guys sitting around playing poker. And this guy makes a joke once again where he's like, I'd fuck your mom. And so like the big mob boss like takes him and like throws him in the trunk, drives him to his parents' house, and forces him to have sex with his mother, while his father sits there catatonic watching the whole thing, smiling. And then it ends with the father just going, mama. Oh, like, this movie is so weird and so like over the top. I can't even say how much I love it, because I loved it so freaking much. There's the only person who looks vaguely recognizable is the host who introduces all the tales of weirdness. His name's Paul Ford, and he only looks familiar because he looks very similar to the little guy in Twin Peaks.
Okay.
He looks very similar to him, but it's not him. Besides that, if you've seen Butt Boy, some of the same cast from that movie is in this. Like Tyler Cornack, who played the main character in Butt Boy, is back, and in this one, in one of the vignettes, he plays a delivery guy who is delivering a telegram to this weird guy who lives out in the wood, in like the desert. And the guy in the desert says, if you don't fuck me, the whole world's going to end. And over a period of time, he convinces this delivery guy that if he doesn't fuck him, the world will end. And he does it. And then magically he gets to leave, and he keeps doing this. And that vignette's called Cream Pie. I'm like, it's so fucked up and weird and wonderful and wacky and wild and whimsical. Five W's. 5 stars. And it's streaming on Plexi, Tubi, and Amazon. Highly, highly, highly recommended. It's absurd. The level of absurdity is immense. It is Butt Boy, it is Greasy Strangler level absurdity, and that is my jam above everything else. So with that being said, let's get on the tracks to Spoiler Town. We're all going to Spoiler Town.
And now for our feature presentation.
For that 2019, very bleak, very I don't even know how the words to describe. Just it's not a happy movie.
Nihilistic?
But
Nihilistic?
Nihilistic would be a great term to describe this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have much of a sense of humor. It doesn't have any sense of humor, really. But we're talking about the Halloween-oriented. I can't even really call it torture porn because it's not torturous, but it is Haunt, Haunt, produced by Eli Roth. And this movie goes hard. It goes so hard, and I love it for that.
Eli Roth.
If you're not familiar with the movie Haunt, it takes place on Halloween. It's about a group of friends who encounter an extreme haunted house that promises to feed on their darkest fears. The night turns deadly as they come to the horrifying realization that the nightmares are real. Holy guacamole. I rewatched this one yesterday. I found a good price for it, a Blu-ray of it on Amazon, and had to watch it and watch the extras. And it's just blows my mind how incredibly humorless this movie is, because it just goes so hard.
It goes really.
You guys, why don't you guys talk about it a little bit while I gather my feelings?
Yeah, this is definitely I would describe hard horror. I wouldn't describe it as like, it's not like hard to watch horror like like an August Underground or something like that. It's not like extreme horror, but it's just kind of mean in tone, and kind of unrelentless. Definitely a great Halloween find.
For sure.
The guy who made it, I don't really like any of his other movies, which is really weird. He made a movie called Nightlight, which I didn't like at all. And then he made that 65 with Adam Driver that just came out. And that thing is a lump of dog shit. But this movie was very good. Good, big on the scares.
Yeah.
Really keeps you guessing for a little while, especially when they first get to the haunted house, because they do present in a way where you're like questioning yourself on like, is that weird, or are they just kind of getting fucked with? Like, especially when the Mitch character gets involved, the ghost faced guy, like he comes off as a normal guy, but he's also a guy in an outfit, and his answers are kind of cryptic here and there.
Yeah.
So you get like kind of taken off your balance by it quite a bit throughout the movie. And then there's even more going on to it, almost like kind of a Strange Land body mod kind of thing going on too.
I almost compared it to Strange Land when we first started. But yeah, I can definitely see the Strange Land vibe.
Yeah, like subtext wise. I mean, it's there on screen, but it's not like they don't like hit you over the head with it, but you're like, oh, well, that's going on with those guys, Yeah. Not only that, like it's just mean. This is a mean movie.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a good way, like to where a lot of these movies you feel like at least somebody's going to be okay in the end. You don't really get that vibe with this one. Like you're like, I could see this one be one of the ones where the good guys win or the bad guys win,
Nobody lives sort of thing. It's pretty brutal. You're right. Like you say mean, but it gets pretty like brutal. But like you said, it's not like overly extreme like August Underground or even like fucking Human Centipede. It's not that bad. But it is mean. It's kind of brutal, and you're right. They're like relentless on nobody might survive this shit, Like
it seems
they're locking up their phones in the beginning. Like as soon as they start locking up their phones and reading their little contract, she's like, so we're just gonna sign our lives away. You just know it's just all downhill from there.
Yeah, and it gives you a real sense of like there is no escape, because even when they're like, we could turn around and go back, and the Mun Mitch character, you're not sure what's going on with him. He's like, well, or we could just keep going because you've already come so far. It's gonna take you fucking longer to go back than it would be to get to the end. And you're like, yeah, but are they gonna make it either way? Like he may not be lying, he may be lying. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love the story arc of this film because we've seen it so many times. It's very familiar because
the house October built.
Yeah, the house October built, but then also like it goes all the way back to movies like Wizard of Gore by Herschel Gordon Lewis, where normal people will see a show and they think that, oh, the woman getting sliced in half is part of the show because that's what it's supposed to be. That's what you're expecting. When in reality, it's real. And, as audience members watching them watch that, you're like, no, turn around, get out of there now. But you can't scream that, they can't hear you say that at the time. So we've seen that story arc from everything from Ghoulies to Wizard of Gore. And then a million times lately where, we have serial killers or maniacs invading a haunted house and trying to take out unwitting victims. Things like Hell Night or God, I can't think right now, but there's been a lot of them. Can you think of any other like haunted house?
Well, not only that, like even echoed in real life with like the people doing like the McCamey Manor shit, where it's like the extreme haunted house where you get like 20 grand to come through, and it was actually just torture. Like the dude was like legit fucking torturing people and shit, like
and that's the type of haunted house that this is, like, so you're going in there like, and a lot of people already have like a fear of those sort of haunted houses. Like I worked in haunted houses for years and I won't do one of those.
Oh, by the way, Germ, you were just asking Hell House LLC were those movies.
I love
it. Very similar, but like aren't those more of a haunting movie, not like
Yeah, but it
killers
takes place in a
escaped.
haunted house.
Yeah.
Like an actual, like they're doing a Halloween
Mhm.
haunt that just happens to be in an actual haunted building, you know.
I love those
Right.
movies.
Yeah, part 4 comes out, which is the prequel, at the end of the month on Shudder.
I'm excited about that.
I'm trying to think of the one that I watch every year around Halloween. That has that Funhouse Massacre. Yeah, and American Fright Fest. There's so many of them that have this Hellfest. They a lot of them even have fest in the name of it.
Mhm.
But the thing that sets this one apart is that it has that extreme haunt vibe that was popular just a few years ago. I'd never been to one. I'd only seen clips online.
Mhm.
So to take that idea that was kind of went viral for a minute, to take that idea and then repurpose it into this mean-spirited movie is great. And I think that why we feel that it's so brutal, and whereas to in fact it's not overly gory and it's not overly violent, we feel that it's so brutal because the violence is realistic.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that could happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the claw end of the hammer pulling the top head of the teeth out, and or a hot poker to her face, and I'm just like, yeah, this looks realistic violence, and that's why it comes across as so brutal and mean. The sledgehammer, the nail gun, it's just amazing, and I think that this should be considered like more when people think of what to watch around Halloween.
Mhm.
For adults, of course, because Trick or Treat will always be my favorite Halloween movie because it has that sense of whimsy. But if you're looking for something more dark and twisted, then Haunt should be the top of your list.
Yeah.
Everything, and I love how in the commentary for this, the directors considered everything from making it realistic. They actually worked in haunts. They took the cast to haunted houses so they could see what it's like. Some of them had never actually been to a haunted house. They started off the behind the scenes thing actually talking from a haunted house in Moline, Illinois. So that's not too far from here. And so I thought that was cool that they loved haunts so much. And then they just did this sort of like 180 sort of movie where if you watch this, you probably don't want to go to a haunted house for a while because, it's just realistic violence. And the soundtrack is great because it starts off being like the typical music or score you would think you would hear in a haunt. But then by the end of the movie, it's completely unhinged, just like the rest of the movie. And, the masks that they wore were very simple masks. They remind you of a simpler time. The witch and the clown and the devil and the ghost.
Very classic.
They're like the masks like when your parents would go and buy you a Halloween costume, like it was just an all-in-one cheap box where it was like a plastic outfit.
I had a
plastic onesie outfit with like just a simple plastic mask with like a elastic band on the back. It had that kind of vibe to it.
Right, and I love that. Like if you were a kid in the 80s or 90s, you remember those masks. You remember that whole costume.
I remember the smell to this day of those like plastic.
And it was something that anybody could wear. But then when the first character, I believe it's the devil, pulls that mask off, and then they have all that body modification with the tattoos and the spikes. And what's that?
Yeah, it was the clown.
The clown first.
Was the clown? I mean, even then, like
was talking
having
to
like
on the phone.
All the plastic surgery to look like a clown permanently, that was like it raised the bar in this movie.
Then you're like, fuck, these kids are screwed now. Like these guys ain't fucking around. Those masks aren't even half as scary as their real faces, you know.
So I love that. I love that about this. And then when you think that it's ended, that she's in the hospital, she's having a flashback, and the clown pops out, but then the clown has her address and is going to her house. Well, she has like the house booby trapped, like Home Alone.
Yeah, very Home
like
Alone situation.
But then it's got like the ending of when she got out of the haunt, and it pulls like a 180, and now he's entering the haunt that she's created for him. I really like that sort of twist on it, and also that the main protagonist, Harper, comes across as very realistic and relatable, having suffered childhood trauma, coming from abusive family. It's gives the character a lot more depth, and it shows resiliency in why she would fight back so hard. I'm really glad that we did this movie this week, because it's so good. It's really not thought of enough when people think of
Halloween.
Movies to watch on Halloween.
Not only that, I like how they framed. You thought they were going to kind of do like a tired trope of like the boyfriend redeeming himself. The abusive, shitty boyfriend was going to like come to the rescue at the end. He's popping up throughout the movie, but he's not there. Like he's making calls, he's trying to figure out where they are, and he's following people and shit. And it gives you the feeling that, he's been this piece of shit the whole movie, but he's going to come and save him. Yeah, and be a changed man. Nah, fuck that. That's not what happens at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This definitely should be more well considered when it comes to the modern canon of like Halloween movies to watch. This should be thought of like Trick or Treats. Those kinds of movies, or like how some people view the first Terrifier, because that was a Halloween movie too, and stuff like that. I even feel Gravy should be in that conversation. That's a perfectly great Halloween movie. And even the one that we're going to do next week, which we're going to reveal at the end of the episode, I think is one that should definitely be talked about more.
Agreed. Might as well reveal it now.
If you haven't seen Haunt, it is streaming on Hulu, and I strongly recommend it. I give it 4.5 stars. What about you guys?
I give it a 4. I give it a solid 4 for sure. It's great.
Yeah, I gave it 4 as well. I do give Hulu props that they put it number 1 on their Halloween splash page. Like when you fire up Hulu and it has like what they're showing for Halloween, the first thing you see is, which I thought was cool.
Very, very cool. Yeah. So 4.5 stars from everybody all around. It is streaming on Hulu. If you like Terrifier, if you like the first Terrifier and you want something a little bit more realistic, Haunt is definitely the movie to go with. So with that, we're going to, next week's episode, we're going to be talking about a very underrated film that not enough people talk about. It is Murder Party. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for this one.
This one again too.
This is one that I watch every year around Halloween, and it's so funny that it came out in 2007. I watched it in 2007, renting it thinking, oh, this is going to be so bad. We're just going to laugh at how bad it is, when in fact it was a hidden gem. And I'm actually really looking forward to talking about this next week. So you guys got any last words for the people out there in real Vile-land?
See you next week.
Come join all of us in Chicago.
Oh yeah, that too.
At RPW's Devil Night. We'll all be there. We'd love to see you. Come say hello. We'll easily take a picture with you. Hope to see everyone there. Till then, keep it creepy. And watch some stuff like Germ's doing a little challenge right now. Watch some stuff you haven't seen before every day, instead of this dust not like the old classics are cool to dust off. I did it with Midnight Hour this week and it was a lot of fun, but get some of that stuff you haven't seen in.
Yeah.
If we talked about some stuff that sounded interesting tonight, you haven't watched it, go check it out. We know what we're talking about. We watch a lot of fucking movies.
Good.
Absolutely.
And appreciate bad. Appreciate the bad ones.
Yeah, you notice how I didn't talk about Scared to Death?
Oh shit! Yeah.
That's what we watched that I didn't feel the need to talk about.
I forgot we watched that. Yeah, we did one more night in the back porch with the projector. Watched Scared to Death. Man, we should have
an alien ripoff with a mutant in the sewers. They introduced the main character as being 34, and the guy looked like 52. So like the big running joke would be like every time you saw an old person, like that guy right there, 17 years old.
It deserves an honorable mention, at least. Maybe not go fully into it, but check out Scared to Death, maybe.
Don't. I mean, yeah. Just watch. It's an entire movie of people walking. Even the monster walks. There's just scene after scene of walking, and like to where now I'm fucking going on a rant when we're wrapping shit up. But like
the needle tongue.
Yeah, I know. Even like if they took out all the walking in this movie, the movie would have been 32 minutes long.
Yeah, just watch the movie. Just watch fucking Scared to Death. It's on Tubi.
Fucking don't.
But in the meantime, I like to say, keep it spooky, keep it scary, watch something fucked up, and God bless America, send nudes. Real vile forever.